What if there was a way for you to completely revolutionize the way you understand yourself and the way other people understand you? Hey, y'all. I'm Reese, and welcome to Making Meaning. Making Meaning is a podcast by the Cohere Collective, here to help you find and make meaning in a way that makes sense for you. This week, I am joined by human design expert and business coach Abigail Rebecca. Abby is a business coach that works with people to extend past just their business. She helps women enter their iconic era, their era of being visible to all of the people that they want to be visible to communicate their vision and mission and message in a broader scale. How does she do this? Human design. Human design is a system based in different ancient spiritual and philosophical modalities, including astrology and the I Ching and a vast array of other modalities and practices. But essentially, human design is a blueprint for you, for the way that you can understand yourself and the way that you operate in the world, and even how other people might understand you. In this episode, Abby and I dive into human design, but also her vastly interesting story that is so empowering and powerful for so many reasons, including the fact that she was raised in a religious cult. I do want to offer a brief content warning. We do discuss Abby's time being raised in a religious cult. Please listen, watch this episode with care. Specific timestamps for that discussion will be in the video description wherever you are listening or watching. Okay, I believe that's all I have for you. So, as always, let's take a deep breath. And get started. I am so excited to be here with you today, Abby. Thank you so much. For all of our listeners, I am here today with Abigail Rebecca, Coaching, Human Design Coaching. Is that, how do you like to describe the beautiful work that you do?
How do I describe it? I've just come from like a networking meeting and I'm like, you get asked the question, what do you do? Well, I mean, where do you start?
Right.
Yes, I guess first and foremost, I am a human design business mentor. I'm a projector coach, I'm a speaker, and I love Kundalini and I love EFT, and I love to bring all of those beautiful modalities together to help women really to step into their iconic era and grow their business with ease, and align to their natural energies, which, as you know, because you know about human design, that is a beautiful tool to be able to help people do that, but especially women.
Yeah.
I think that we're the natural leadership styles and tendencies that we have is very much needed in this world at the moment. So I am on a mission really to be able to be in service to as many women as possible.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And my first question, just to make sure we really set the tone of this podcast in alignment with this beautiful work that you're doing, is what is one thing that you're grateful for today?
Oh, you know what? I'm so grateful for where we live. We moved out into the countryside from the city during lockdown and had the most amazing lockdown, living in the middle of a cow field. It was great. Not literally, yeah, we're in a house.
Right.
And made the decision to move back to the city about 3 months ago. And myself and my partner dreamt it, manifested it. And he's just met, I was taking the dog for a walk and he just like showed up and surprised me and took us for lunch. And I'm so grateful for experiences like that, to be around people and to be around the hubbub and the chaos a little bit of the city, but also to have the sea. So to be very, very near to nature as well. So I'm very, very grateful for that today and every day.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I love the little moments of spontaneity that connection and relationships like that bring, but also the space that you live in is so important. I mean, we've all heard, your outer world reflects your inner mind, but it's really true. So that's so beautiful. Second question, to hopefully crack open this conversation and see where it takes us, is what is your story? Of course, that is a big question. Whatever you feel called to share about your story right now is perfect. And of course, we'll dive into the human design and spiritual aspect as well. But I know that you have a very interesting story, so I'm excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share, and I really, really love to share my story. So my background is quite unusual. I was raised in a religious cult, and I was very disempowered as a woman. So I wasn't allowed to have an opinion. I wasn't allowed to challenge anything. I wasn't really allowed to make any choices for myself. My father even chose all of my school subjects. I was raised to be subservient to men. I was told what to wear. And I was basically raised to be a mother and a wife. I always say there's nothing wrong with that role. It's a beautiful role to have in life if it's your choice, but I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And I always felt I just didn't believe it. I was looking for the proof in everything, and I just couldn't find it, and no one would answer my questions. Anyway, it got to a point when I was 16 years old that I had to make a decision. And I didn't really realize how serious it was actually at that age. But I had to make a decision whether I was going to stay and that was going to be my life, or whether I was going to leave and choose freedom. And I chose freedom at such an early age. And freedom continues to be my number one value. Like, I chose freedom for myself at a cost. Just like that, overnight, I lost my whole community, my friends, my family, everything that I knew was kind of like pulled like a rug underneath my feet. But then on the flip side, it was my decision. I made that decision, and I'm so glad that I made that decision. And at the time, it was just me chasing freedom. I just wanted to be a normal teenage girl and travel and be able to mix with people and so be normal, inverted commas. And now I look back and I was like, oh my goodness, that was like a quest that I chose, because that it was, to look back on it now is such a big decision. But I really stand for us as human beings. If we are in a place where it doesn't feel aligned, or you're unhappy, or it just doesn't feel right for you, you can make that decision. You can get up and leave. And I understand that every situation is different, and sometimes it might be dangerous to do that. Like, I get it. But at the end of the day, we can make decisions, we can make choices on how we're going to live our lives, and what freedom means to us. So freedom for me was traveling the world and having lots of different experiences, which I did. I then came back. I was traveling all over the world for about 10 years. I came back into corporate, had a really good high profile leadership role within corporate. And then 9 years ago, I decided to start my business, and really struggled at the beginning, like was just hustling and doing lots of investing in a lot of coaches that were teaching me how to work hard, how to hustle, how to go out there and make things happen.
Right.
And just really confused and very, very bitter about how it was working out for everyone else and not for me. And I was creating some success in my business, but not in comparison to other people. And then I was introduced to human design. And for me, human design just changed the whole trajectory of my life and my business. I realized that I was a projector within human design. So I'm not designed to work hard. I'm not designed to hustle. And really started to integrate it into my life, my business. It was transformational in my business. I then started to integrate it into my client work, because I was a coach at the time. Even back then, my clients loved it. So now that's what I do. So I empower women to step into their iconic era. I work with purpose-driven female business owners, founders, entrepreneurs, creative change makers. And really my superpower is visibility through human design. And, I understand I'm on a big mission and I'm on a big vision, but I can only create it and present it aligned to my strategy and aligned to like
Mm.
my own energy. So I have purposely created my business around my human design. I don't work long hours. I don't hustle. I don't do any kind of cold outreach whatsoever. I'm really, really good at orchestrating the invitations, which is my human design strategy. And I love to help other people do the same. But I particularly love to work with other projectors.
Yes, yes, of course, because there's that natural alignment there. And I have so many things I want to dive into, but I guess just to right off the bat, hearing this, I'm not built to work hard. I don't want to do this like grind set mindset thing, especially in the entrepreneurship and like coaching world is truly so radically different. And I think in a lot of mental health spaces and self-help spaces, we're starting to see this conversation happen, but it still feels so radical to say, you don't have to break your back to make your dream happen. And I love what you said about, yes, I'm purpose driven and I have a huge vision, but I'm doing it in a way that aligns with who I am, not in a way that tries to fit my vision into the world, but I'm going to create my world so that the vision can arise, right? I think that's so beautiful. What is it like to have this perspective that is so radically different from so many people in this space? And what do you think would help us start being able to hear that? Because I think, so many people have the gut instinct of like, I disagree with this, but I would have to imagine so many people are like, oh, well, that's just lazy. You do need to work hard. Or how dare you think that you should just be given things, right? And it's like, well, actually, we all do deserve things. We shouldn't have to, break a sweat in order to have our basic needs met. So, yeah, I'm sure you've heard all of this before, but I would love to hear what your response to all of that is.
It's understandable that people would react like that. Some people would react like that because that's the way that the world is. We live in a world full of beings who have got sacral energy, defined sacral energy. I'm talking a lot of human design speak here, I understand that. But just to let you know, there's 5 different human design types, and 70% of the population are generators, manifesting generators, and they've got this wonderful sacral energy where they can work. And as a projector, I don't have that sacral definition, but the world is made up of people that work and work a lot, right? Work, sleep, go to sleep, work. And that's the way that we have been conditioned to create success. It's like a badge of honor. I can't tell.
Yes.
So, that time of year where everyone's graduating, like everyone's like graduating from college or from school. Like there's a lot of graduations happening at the moment. And I see posts on my social media feed, and it's like, I'm so proud of my son, John, or I'm so proud of my daughter, Helen, who has, worked really hard to get to this place. And no one ever questions that. It's like, oh yeah, she's such a good worker. She's such a hard worker. And it is this badge of honor that if you work hard, that you will create success. And it's a way that we've been brought up. But actually, what if there's a different way to create success? And what I love about human design is that it helps us to create success on our terms and our way, aligned to our strategy. The reason that I left corporate 9 years ago to set up my business is that I was massively burnt out. I developed a heart condition. I was rushed to the hospital many occasions with a heartbeat of 220, and it should be around 70. And that's because I was working hard and hustling to prove myself within a corporate environment, trying to keep up with everyone else. And it's actually nothing to do with whether you're lazy or you're not lazy. That's a term that is, it's a word, it's fine.
Right.
We can use that word all the time, but actually what sits underneath that and what human design does is it gives us a language to be able to describe how we're feeling energetically. I live with a wonderful generator partner. He's the COO in my business. He is amazing. And he's admitted to me that before he learned about human design, because he's also wonderful at human design, very knowledgeable, he used to think that I was a bit lazy. You know, we'd go to a festival and I'd be like, I need to go and rest. And he'd be like, what's the matter with you? Like, come on, let's go. And he now knows that when I rest, I'm more productive. When I rest, I'm able to be in service more to people. So because I know that about myself and there's no shame around it, and I am totally like very, very happy to share with everyone. I'm not designed to work hard, so therefore I don't work hard. Now that I know that about myself, I can now give myself permission to go and rest when I need to. And that makes me a better coach. It makes
Yes.
me a better partner. It makes me a better human being. It just makes me happier. It makes everyone around me happier. And it just means that I can be more productive within my business. So I work less and I'm more productive. And that does sound strange because we're not taught that way, but maybe it's time to learn a different way of doing things.
Hey y'all, it's Reese briefly interrupting our conversation just to ask you if you're enjoying it. If you are, please consider subscribing to the Cohere Collective or to Making Meaning wherever you may be listening or watching, leaving us a 5-star rating and a review, a comment down below, a like. Engaging with this video in any way is the best way to let me know that you're enjoying it and also let other people know that this is content worth watching, and share it with someone that you think would enjoy it. Okay, back to the conversation. Absolutely. I absolutely love that. And I love what you said at the very end about how it actually allows you to give back more. I think it is this badge of honor, this kind of if you work hard, you're going to make it, you're going to do it. But how many people work so hard and yet never seem to reach the, inverted commas, success that we're all sold? And so we kind of pedestal people who have supposedly worked hard and then made it because it makes us feel really comfortable about the way that we're spending our time and energy, as opposed to questioning it and really thinking, what do I need? What does my body, my constitution, the way, I was made or born, or depending on your larger belief system, what does that call me to do? And I think that that's so beautiful and a message that so many people need to hear, even if it is, no, you are wired to work hard, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing to have that, but also work hard at work worth doing. And being able to kind of reframe the way we think of this hard work that is also by quote unquote not working hard, you are actually able to work harder, right? In the way that works for you. Like you said, you're able to be more productive. And I think it makes perfect sense that this is part of your mission and vision, given your strong inclination towards freedom and towards self-empowerment, and this beautiful decision that you made at 16 to take a chance on yourself. 16 is a very young age to make that decision. And how brave, right? And truly, extremely courageous to leave behind everything you've ever known, all the people you know, the people that are supposed to protect you and raise you and help you and nurture you, and say, I need to do this for myself now so that I can figure out who that self really is and step into that full self. It's so, so beautiful. What do you think it was that allowed you to make that choice at 16? You said it's kind of like pulling out the rug from underneath you, but you made the choice to pull the rug out from underneath yourself. And that's so brave. Talk to me about that that moment, that paradigm shift. And I'm sure it wasn't just one moment. It was a buildup of a lot of things. But what do you think it was that allowed you to step into that self-empowerment?
It was a build-up of, like you said, many different things happening over really since I was born. I've been asked this question so many times, and you know what? I look back now and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was such a baby. Like, that's crazy. 16, it's crazy. It's such an adult decision to make. And really to be, I'd love to kind of paint this picture of spiritual awakening. And, you know, I was meditating one day and then all of a sudden I heard a voice, and unfortunately, the story isn't like that. The story is I was just so sick and tired of being told what to do. Really, really restrictive. And also the fear that resided within me. I was so scared. First of all, I was really, really scared of people that weren't so it's Jehovah's Witnesses. I was a Jehovah's Witness. That's the organization that I was brought up in. So we were taught to believe that anyone that wasn't a Jehovah's Witness was evil. Like I said, the whole of the world were evil and scary, and there was so much propaganda. And I didn't buy it for a minute, because I knew people that weren't Jehovah's Witnesses and they seemed like really nice people. So how could all these people be evil? And secondly, a real fear around the end of the world, you know, like, and everyone's going to die apart from us, a horrible death, and we're going to live together in this paradise earth. And I just thought, I'm just fed up of this fear. Like, I want to explore it for myself. I want to escape from it. So for me, it felt like I was escaping from the fear. And also I was completely rebelling against the don't tell me what to do. And I've realized that that is a voice that is inside of me and has continued to be inside of me all through my life. And it's definitely my ego. Anytime that I get like arsey, it's because I'm reacting because someone's trying to tell me what to do. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. You know, even with the best intentions, but I've been able to flip that now on its head. So instead of don't tell me what to do, it's like, you know what, I'm going to choose to empower myself and do what I want to do and live the life that I want to live, instead of being told what I can and can't do. And, you know, if you think about it, there are so many women in this world that don't have that freedom, that they're told, you know, to adulthood, you know, they leave their family, they go and get married or whatever they do, and they're still in this really restrictive environment. So I'm very grateful for the fact that, first of all, I live in a country that I was able to do that and leave without anything really horrible happening to me. But also that I made that choice to do something different within my life, instead of just blindly following like the other female members of my family, because it's really an organization that empowers men. It's set up by men for men. So men are very, very happy in that organization, and women pretend that they are, but I don't know. I can't speak for anyone in there, but I'm sure that there's many happy people in there. Looking back now, I truly believe that I decided that that it was a choice for me to even be born into that family. You know, I feel like it was a challenge for me on this earth to kind of like be born into it, to go, you know, to be able to break free from it, to break free from the conditioning, and then to break free and to have this experience in my life where I'm now able to bring other women on this journey. So I am so grateful. I've done a lot of forgiveness work with my family and with the men in that organization that, you know, created the restrictions. I'm so grateful for my family for the way that they brought me up, because it showed that they love me. It was the only way that they could show love.
Sure.
And I'm so grateful for the experiences. So, I always think when things just feel like really awful and really scary, and like there will always be a gift in it. And I see the gifts in the way that I was brought up, and I'm really, really grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this. It's almost a combination of the teenage rebellion, right? That we all kind of go through in that moment of individuation. But then there's this deeper layer of not rebelling against, like you were saying, but stepping into your own. And it no longer actually has anything to do with anyone else, and just everything to do with yourself, and owning that fullness. And I think then finding human design makes perfect sense, because it is this beautiful tool to understand the self and all of the different ways that we can manifest and incarnate in this world. When you say that you chose to be in that family, right? I've certainly heard in astrology, this is a big thing that your soul chooses when you're born, and the life path you're gonna go down. Is that your belief system, and what what does that mean to you that you chose that? I think that's really beautiful, and I'd love to know more about it.
It's kind of my belief system, Reese. I mean, I would say, like, with everything that I love and I believe in, and I'm a very spiritual person, I still have my feet firmly planted on this earth.
Yes,
I come
yes.
from a background, so there's always that like mixture of like the magic and the practicality. I don't know if any of this is true, but what I would love to believe is that, yeah, we choose, this is Earth School. and
Yeah,
we choose the lessons that we want to learn, and we choose to be incarnated into, a life. Now, there'll be so many people that disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine. But I really love the idea of that. I really do. And I don't particularly have like any like religious belief system or anything like that. I just know that, one thing that I know for sure is that we have all been designed to come to either be born into this earth or created, or whatever belief system you have, but we are here to be happy. We're here to live our biggest, fullest life to its full potential. I'll be sitting and I love food. The way that I was able to leave my family was to go and train to be a chef. So I'm a classically trained chef. I decided not to pursue it as a job, but I love to cook. And when I cook for you, I love you, and I appreciate food, and I love, love, love to go and eat. And very fortunate to have amazing restaurants here, and we're just by London, so you can imagine all the things. And I'll be sitting and eating like the most amazing food, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, like this is what I came to this earth for.
right.
Eat the food, and I came to watch that beautiful sunset, and I came to meet these wonderful people, and to meet my partner Kev, and to have my soul dog Rudy, and all these experiences, like the touch and the feel and all the senses that potentially, if you weren't in the human body, that you wouldn't be able to experience.
Right.
So I'd like to think that I was like, yeah, I want to be able to like eat nice food and have nice experiences and be able to feel all of the feels and emotions within this world. And that's what I've chosen to do.
I love that. It's the Venus energy of it all, right? Like stepping into the richness of life and loving the physical body that is this gift that we get in Earth School. I love that. And I had no idea that you were a classically trained chef. What was the pivot from realizing I don't want to pursue this as a career? It's certainly a passion. It's certainly something I love, but I want to go into this different world. What was that decision
Oh, it was
like?
just horrible, Reese. It was
Mm,
horrible. I mean, this was early 90s. So it was at the time of like the famous but toxic chefs. Like there was a whole movement. I'm not sure if it was just in the UK or if it was global, if you guys had it over there, but definitely in London, there was this, the rock star chefs. And it was very toxic. It was very heated. And it was just a really horrible, horrible environment. Now, I was 16 years old. I'd just been through what I was doing. And then I arrived in this kitchen full of men who were a lot older than me, that were basically like, you can imagine 16-year-old girl. But again, I'm very grateful for the fact that it means that I've got a thick skin, and it means that I know how to cook, and I've got the most banging set of chef's knives that I still have to this day, and they're beautiful, and they're like some of my treasured possessions.
of course, yes.
And And really, what I really desired to do was travel the world. So I left. So I trained to be a chef. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I did that for 2 years. And then I actually trained to be a nursery nurse, a nanny, because I wanted to work overseas. And then that enabled me to go overseas for the first time. So I went and lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was a nanny over there. And that was the start of my big exploration of the world. So my 10 years traveling the world. So it was really the travel that took me away from it.
Sure, absolutely. And isn't that so interesting that going from this space of your early childhood that was so dominated by men and the lack of freedom, right, that you describe, and then immediately jumping into another space that I would imagine very different, and I don't want to compare apples to oranges, but is largely dominated by aggressive men. And I mean, at this point, we've all seen The Bear.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Hell's Kitchen, and even though I think, of course, now we're kind of aware that Gordon Ramsay is the character that he is, right? But it's still very much that way, that there is that aggression. What comes up when I talk about that, the mirrored experience there?
It's interesting, isn't it? I think sometimes, we can go through life, and this is one thing that I work with my clients. So a lot of my clients, when they come and work with me, it's difficult for them. They're creating success. They're already established businesses. They want to scale, but they find themselves in these, these circles. It's like continuous circles where
Right.
you will have a certain belief system, or you will feel a certain way, and then that is your view of the world, and then you will keep proving yourself, because we like to be right. Okay, so it's my ego. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, so if I decide that, take, for example, we're talking about men. Okay, so let's take, for example, that I decide that all men are just horrible human beings and cheat on me. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and unconsciously find situations to prove myself right. I'll find
Right.
myself in a relationship with a horrible man that cheats on me, and then I'll go, you see, I told you so. So you're proving yourself right all the time. Now, that's not to say that that man shouldn't be taking responsibility for his own crap, obviously, but I think once we start actually owning ourselves and the way that we are behaving and the scenarios that we're creating, that's the fast track to changing our current reality. So for me, yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize it at the time, but yeah, I was
Right.
going from one toxic scenario to the other. And then I guess that it was just continuing within my life, really. And there were lots of different breakthroughs in my life. The first one was discovering human design, and then I think coupled with that as well, I guess my spirit. There's been lots of spiritual awakenings, but when I discovered yoga and really started tapping into that more feminine side of me, instead of trying to, go, push, and proving myself, actually being you know what, I'm okay as I am. So what if I think that I'm a bit weird, and maybe, trying to cover, there's these weird parts of ourselves that we're trying to cover up all the time. It's
Yeah.
just let it out. Who cares? And it's very freeing and very liberating. And again, it keeps coming back to human design, but that's why I love it so much, because what better thing to learn about but yourself?
Right.
The more we learn about ourselves, the more insights we have. That's an incredible opportunity to go and be the creators of our dreams and our true purpose in this life.
Yeah, I think this is a beautiful opportunity to dig more into the human design. I'll put a few resources down below for anyone who is just completely new to human design and has no idea what this concept is. For you to go figure out the first little inklings and leanings into it. But for you, Abby, in discovering human design, I think, of course, this self-knowledge is so empowering. And there's a reason why so many of us, like the Myers-Briggs is so big, and then the Enneagram is so big, and of course astrology. And when I first learned of human design, I loved the way it bridged the gap between like practical reality and spirituality. I think that's something that a lot of us really need, and feel the call towards this kind of bigger mystery. But then also it's like, but I'm living life in this reality, and that means something too. What is it about human design when you first discovered it that enamored you enough to really dive in and learn about yourself through it?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, actually, in terms of my first aha and realization and why I love it, because it is very much grounded in that practicality and magic. And, you know, for myself, I have a very strong corporate background, but also I have this, you know, beautiful other part of me where, you know, I really believe in the power of crystals and tarot, and you know, like I love to celebrate like the pagan festivals over in the UK, you know, like all these like really juicy, like very feminine, divine things that we can go and explore. So you're right, human design, I always say, imagine if Myers-Briggs and astrology became lovers in Ibiza. And had a child, because that's where it was birthed. And I love that it was birthed in Ibiza, by the way, because that is a freaking magical island. But they had this love child, and it's called human design. So it's like it's like a blueprint of your aura, how you can create success, how you can build relationships based on your birth details. So I really love the practicality of it, because it's, you know, it's very practical. I mean, I used to head up a big learning and development department within corporate. If I'd have known, I had millions in my budget at some point. It was always taken away. The learning and development budget is always taken away. I
Sure.
wanted to spend it really quickly. But if I was back there and had that budget again, and I learned about human design, it would be in the system. It would be part of the culture, because you can practically apply it to leadership, to business. And I go and do workshops within corporate all the time and teach them about human design. So you've got that real practicality, and then you've got the fact that it's like astrology and I Ching, which is a beautiful Chinese teaching around sort of divine powers and gifts, and the tree of life and the chakra system. So it really kind of speaks into that, you know, if there's anything about you that's like, oh, there's something really mystical about this life and I need to explore more, it kind of gives you access to that. For me, it was about the practical application of it to my business. And you said you were going to put some resources down at the bottom. You can go on to it's free. It's free to access. My website, abigailrebecca.com, if you go on there and you click on the link that says, look at your free chart, we can put that link down.
Yes, absolutely.
But it was the way that I was able to practically apply it to my business. And when I found out I was a projector, and like this whole, like, you're not designed to work hard and you need to wait for the invitation. That for me was such a shock, and I refused to believe it. And I was like, no, that's not me. And what do you mean I need to wait around for an invitation? I'm running a business here. I can't be waiting around. But actually, when I started to experiment with it and apply it, I started to see that things were showing up differently in my life. So it doesn't put you in a box. It gives you access to ways of doing things. And I always think, you know, that when you are stuck, when you're trying hard, and nothing seems to be working, why not try doing something in a completely different way? How about completely flipping things on its head? You know, how about me as a projector, instead of working harder, stepping back and going to do a sauna and switching my laptop off for 5 days? How about that? You know, it's like, it sounds bonkers, but actually it works. Because for me, with my specific human design, everyone's completely different. But for me, that then creates more opportunities in my life when I'm not trying to hustle and work hard. So the proof is always in the pudding. So for me, it really helped me to do that. And then with it also helped me as a coach, as a mentor, because I've always worked with visibility. How can I make you more visible within your business? So you've got more reach. So you seem more as an expert. You can stand in your thought leadership. You can speak on stages. You can be invited onto podcasts. You can create success, get more clients. I can't teach you my strategy because the way that I do things is going to be completely different to how you do things. So
Right.
how about if we had a bespoke roadmap that is only applicable to us and us only, that really helps us to create success instead of trying to like piggyback on other people's methods where they found success. And that's what I love about it. It really helped me to be able to help my clients. And when I'm in service to others and I can help others, especially women, that's when I feel successful. So it's really helped my work as well.
Yeah. No, that's so beautiful. And I love what you said about it being bespoke, right? There is so much out there about I'll sell you my success plan or my 10 secrets to success and my unique formula that will crack the code for you. And we're all so unique and individual. It's so much more about discovering your own formula that's going to work for you. And I think that that's just right on the money what you said about I couldn't tell you how I do things and it worked for you because it's for Abigail Rebecca, right? It's not for Reese, and vice versa. And being able to, I think, honor your own identity and special blend of magic to be able to help other people honor their special and unique stuff is just like that's the stuff, right? Like how juicy and beautiful of a gift that is. When people first dive into human design, of course, for anyone who's just a smidgen familiar with it, they'll know the basic personalities and then the number set that we kind of get. What do you always recommend people pay attention to first for kind of dipping their toes into the water of trying to learn about themselves through this?
I say always start with your strategy.
Mm.
That's the most important thing. If you were just to take that from human design and leave everything else, because it is a major rabbit hole, FYI, if you were just to play with your strategy. So the strategy for manifesting generators and generators is wait to respond. The strategy for projectors is wait to be invited. The strategy for manifestors is to inform. And the strategy for beautiful reflectors, who are only 1% of the population, is actually to wait a full moon cycle, which sounds absolutely bonkers because it's 28.5 days. And I get it. And it's not for like deciding what you want for dinner. It's more like major life decisions. But if you're only going to practice that and see what shows up for you, my biggest gift, I feel, is when I do a human design reading with someone, for example, and just the penny starts to drop. Like, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, I can understand why that's not been working for me. And then I catch up with them a few months later after they've been in the experimentation, and they can share with me all the things that have come into fruition just by following that one simple step. I mentioned before I just gone to a networking event. I really don't like networking events. I don't like them, but it was just, you know what, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go, and it's a beautiful venue, and I knew some people that were going, so I was like, I just need to go. Before I discovered human design, I would have gone in and I would have been the loudest person in the room. I'd have been the person to speak the first time. I'd have been going up to everyone and going, hello, I'm Abigail Rebecca. What do you do? And like completely like not being my authentic self, like trying, pushing. you know what, now I know that that's not going to be in alignment to myself. So the way that I go and get the opportunities is to go in there and just wait to be invited into a conversation. Now, for someone who could have been, was very, very outgoing in the past, or had that illusion of being outgoing,
Mm-hmm.
that's a difficult thing for me to learn to do, because it's like, well, what if everybody thinks I'm a bit quiet and I'm not, like, I'm a bit shy? I wouldn't want anyone to think that I'm shy, heaven forbid.
Right.
And just really deconditioning from all of that and just going, you know what, I walk into a room, not everyone's going to notice me, and that's okay. The ones that will really value me will invite me into a conversation, and in that conversation they will listen to me, and they will
Mm.
value, as opposed to me trying to be rah 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 in the room. And that for me has been the biggest breakthrough, and that's totally the biggest breakthrough for anyone that I've shared human design with. And then, of course, if they want to come and do some more work around it and how to practically then apply that to all different aspects of their business, they can come and do some more work with me. But for me, that's a really big breakthrough.
Absolutely. Well, and I think even just the word wait is so taboo in our society, right? Like, for anyone that wants to make something happen or change the world or has this huge vision, this idea of waiting is like, but I need to be throwing my business card at anyone who will take it. I need to be starting all of these conversations, and I need to be making sure that everyone sees my face and being the biggest personality in the room, right? But I think the that magic piece of what you're saying is, but who's going to really hear you and really listen and see your thing, your spark, and making that work for you, I think is so beautiful. And I do want to hear more about this vision that you have, of course, tying into this freedom piece, empowering women and women business owners and entrepreneurs, and being able to help people not master, because can we ever really master anything, but harness this self-understanding to grow and expand, and then having been able to align it for yourself. I just think that's such a powerful snippet that you shared at the beginning. How did you come into this vision? I think so many people feel, I call it the spark, this like spark of purpose, but to cultivate that into a vision that's like, okay, I feel this thing. What does that look like? What was that process like for you to say, okay, I feel this thing, I understand myself, but now it's grown into something that is really tangible, that I can take active steps towards, yes, but it also still has this spiritual, fulfilling, aligned property to it. Talk to me about your vision.
Well, for me, it's been quite the process. When I started my business 9 years ago, I was so suffocated in corporate and felt like all my creativity had been stripped away that I went to retrain to be a personal stylist at the London College of Fashion. So I started off my business as a personal stylist. I was working in Knightsbridge opposite Harrods, and I was helping people shop and styling them and doing wardrobe, like closet cleansers and things like that. But it didn't really feel fulfilling. And that's not to say that it's not fulfilling work. It just wasn't fulfilling to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, you know what, I want to do more. Like, I want to be able to help more. How can I help more? And then I discovered the online work. I started working with a coach and an organization, and joined a mastermind that was helping me to be able to bring my business online. And I found that I was working with more and more entrepreneurial women that wanted to be styled for speaking on stages and speaking to camera. And then they realized that I'd been public speaking for the majority of my life, and I was very confident and competent on stages, because that's what I do now as well. I'm a speaker. So they started asking me about speaking. So then I became a presentation coach. So the styling was then combined with the presentation. And then I was working with a lot of women that were coming to me for that, and then were going through huge transformation in their life and changing, and they wanted to be able to have someone that would be able to lead them through that process. So that's when I started to step more and more into coaching and personal development. And then slowly but surely it came to this. And I tell you, when the penny dropped, Reese, I look back on my corporate career, because I discounted my corporate career for quite a while. I just was like, I just want to forget it. Like, that was my past life. This is my new life, right?
Right.
Then I was like, I'm missing a trick here, because there were so many things that I did which were just amazing, like within corporate, the experiences that I had within there. And I just thought, what was it that I really loved doing? And one of my biggest roles within that whole business that actually wasn't it was a role that I created for myself, was to help get people promoted. So I realized a lot of people in the organization that were being passed over for promotion, they'd worked there for many years, they were very, very good at their jobs, but they weren't getting the promotion. So I started to help them. I was mentoring them to get promotion and helping them to be more visible within the business. And then they were starting to be recognized and noticed, and they were getting promoted. And it was a lot of people that were working for me within my team. So it didn't help with my turnover, you know. It just really, really fulfilled me. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that's what I love to do. I love to help, especially women, promote themselves. So that's when I started to apply it to entrepreneurs, business owners, especially women that, you know, are in the personal development space, the coaching space, online, to promote themselves more so that they can be discovered, and they can, you know, create whatever name that they want to create for themselves and be more visible. So I guess that's when the penny dropped in terms of what my zone of genius was. When I discovered human design, it then cemented my purpose. So within my human design and my gene keys, there's a lot of that going on. And I was like, okay, good, we're on track. And then I think it was really sort of like looking at, again, revisiting my values. And this is work that I do with my clients all the time. Like, you know, leading with your values, leading with your why, leading with your purpose, with your vision. Yes, okay, we all want to create success, but actually, why? Why do you want to, you know, why are we all doing this work? It's not just to make money and, you know, to grow our social media following. There's something else. There's there's an inner fulfillment that we want to bring into fruition. So really looking at my values, and I realized that my values are freedom. Obviously, that's my number one value. Another one of my big values is love, and the opposite of fear is love. So really helping people step out of that fear into love, which I believe that I bring a lot of experience of that. Because I take big leaps of faith within my business, and, you know, from a very young age. And also community, like bringing, like really helping other women, like connect with one another and create success within their business. So I think it was just a combination of all of those things. And to be honest with you, Reese, this is the first time, I mean, I've been doing what I'm doing now, I would say, for the last 4 years. And it's the first time in the whole of my life, in all of my career and my business, that I felt really, really fulfilled. Like, it's there, it's clicked. I love it. I love it so much. And it never felt quite right when I was doing the other things. So for me, it's like, it lights me up. I love it. I could do it all day long. And that's how I know that I found the thing. I found the one.
Yeah, right. Your spiritual, metaphysical beloved in this purpose. Oh, I love that. I just hearing you talk about it, it's my favorite thing to hear about, is that thing, your purpose, beloved. And I think that's so special that the thing that I always come back to in every single one of these conversations is that when people really feel that feeling of fulfillment and purpose, is that it's always also the way that they give back and connect to others. And I just think that that's so beautiful. And this value of love and helping women, I adore that. I adore it. also want to ask, since you mentioned your fascination with crystals and tarot, I similarly am a crystal and tarot and, you know, quote unquote new age metaphysical practices. I actually think they're probably more old age. And returning to some of like indigenous and ancestral roots there. But talk to me about discovering that piece of Abby and what it means to you now.
When I was really young, I must have been about 5 or 6, and I remember I'm in the garden of my family home, and there is a hedge that separates our garden from the neighbour's garden. And to this day, I don't know who it belonged to, but underneath the hedge, I saw these things poking out the ground. They looked like rocks, but they were like shimmering in the sunlight. And I dug them up, and they were these crystals that had been buried. There was a clear quartz, there was an amethyst. They were big. And I didn't know what they were. There were just these rocks, and I held them, and they just made me feel good. Like, I loved to look at them. They were really pretty. And I remember really treasuring these rocks. They were kept outside in the garden. They never came into the home. I don't know what happened to them. I really, really wish that I kept them. They were so beautiful. And it wasn't really, I think it was probably when I left corporate. And obviously, as you can imagine, I attract in a lot of women who are into crystals.
Sure.
So I was like, starting to attract clients and be in communities, and obviously I'd seen like crystals around, but I don't know, I just never made the connection. And then one day I was like, oh my goodness, I think I saw a clear quartz, and it looked like the one that I'd found in my garden. All of a sudden I had this memory. I'd forgotten all about it and had this memory of when I was a child. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. So that's when I first started to discover them, and I just love them. I love, like, you can tell,
it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
This is I love to collect them as well on my travels. So this is a beautiful clear quartz that was gifted to me actually when I went and co-hosted a retreat in Spain a couple of years ago. I'm going back there in a couple of weeks. This is my speaking crystal. So if ever I go and do a big talk on a stage, I always take this with me, and I have my crystal with me. But I just love them. And listen, you know that I'm grounded in practicality. It doesn't matter whether you believe in the healing power of crystals or not. They're pretty. They're really, really pretty. They're pretty to look at. They make the house look nice. So, whether you work with them and use them as a beautiful healing modality, or whether you just think that they're a pretty thing to have around, they are here to stay. They're part of this earth. They're definitely been, contain wonderful wisdom and powers. And I love to use them and have them around me. And they make me feel good. And, it's the same as clothes. I love clothes. I love style. I love shoes. They make me feel good. So why not?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very much my anytime, because I do read tarot, and that's kind of my 2 cents about it. When I'm reading for someone who may not believe in any higher power, they may view themselves as an atheist, or someone who previously in their religious tradition viewed it as even negative, or like this witchcraft idea as being evil and scary. I'm like, even if it is just a new idea that is making you think about something, and it's just purely speaking to your psychology, there's still something beautiful to learn there. Exactly like you're saying with crystals. It's like, even if it is just beautifying your space, that still brings something to you. That still awakens something, whether or not you add in that spiritual dimension. And also, I always like to throw out there with tarot, I'm like, I think any god that's all powerful and all knowing could speak to you through a deck of cards, but that's just me. So I really completely agree with that. And I'd love to hear more about this, keeping your feet grounded in practicality while still holding this very spiritually in tune worldview, because I think that's something I really strive to hold as well. But I'd love to know why that balance is important for you and how they intermingle.
Mm. I've spoken to a lot of people that, like me, have this belief that it's almost like we're kind of like the bridge between the two worlds. So there are many people in this world who are, very much on this earth. They're very practical. They maybe don't believe in magic or mysticism. They don't have any spiritual beliefs, but there is a kind of like a pull and a draw, like a remembrance of who we are. And they want to explore it more, but maybe they're not attracted into, the extreme elements of spirituality, right? Maybe it's too far. It's a bit too weird for them. And then you have these beautiful beings that are like completely untethered.
Yes.
These beautiful star seeds and like, and they really need to be brought back into earth and grounded so that they can actually monetize their gifts and share their gifts in a way that other people are able to receive them. So I feel like I'm like the middle person. So you know what, I always I was speaking to a friend of mine, Kelly. Actually, she's amazing, you'd love her. So Kelly's based in the States, and she's a Reiki master, and she's Kundalini yoga teacher, and she's just amazing. And we always laugh and go, ha ha ha, we like they don't realize, they think we're normal. They think we're normal, and then we bring them in. Ha ha ha. So I do think that there needs to be like this sort of middle ground where people can start to explore, but they're not, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, I'm not quite ready to, to do this thing. But I just want to bring that in. And it's interesting. I when you were just saying about tarot, and obviously I've always been aware of tarot. I only really started practicing tarot a couple of years ago. And for me, tarot was a way that I could communicate with my spirit guides. I have like a cosmic team. I call them my cosmic council. And it's a way that I'm able to have messages from them. But I was brought up to be so scared of tarot. Anything, like it was demons, it was wrong, like, because it was so like, that Christian kind of like belief.
Right.
It took me a long, long time to be able to overcome that and see it for what it is. And I wasn't opening the gates of hell.
Right.
And actually, if I was to get a normal card deck and play some cards with it, then it would be the same thing, because that's basically what it is, right? It's a tarot deck.
Right.
But there is a I understand, there is a belief from people that, when they see crystals and tarot and all things like that, that it's like the devil worship. And it's such a shame, because these are gifts that are given to us, especially as women. Like this is our ancient wisdom. And it's a shame that it's been branded as that, as something evil and something to be afraid of. And, it just takes me back to the witch trials.
Yep.
When we were being dunked underwater and burnt under the stake and burnt at the stake. And, just because we were freaking amazing midwives and we were medicine men, and, we were the storytellers of the communities. And, I'd like to stop that. I'd like us to really understand what it is, and that there's nothing to be afraid of, and that fear keeps us away from love.
Absolutely.
And love is the thing that's going to heal this world, not fear and terror and, all of that. That's I think the crystals are here to heal us. And I love the fact, actually, that, if I turn on my Zoom and someone sees a crystal and it terrifies them, then they're not my people, and I let them go with love.
Yeah.
Like my
absolutely
tarot reading.
That's right. No, I don't do app dating much. I never really did. But the one like stretch of time when I was on a dating app for a few months, I read tarot cards as a part of my profile as a bit of a litmus test. That's like, if that freaks you out, we're not going to jive. We're just not a match, you know? So I completely agree with that. And the right before you said the witch trials, that image came up in my head too. And I heard something the other day that I thought was so profound. That was men, when they feel this really strong spiritual connection, like especially in history, when the church and government are still like more closely interrelated, especially in the West than they are now. That if men felt this strong spiritual connection, they would be given a position of authority and power in society, and they would be a governing role who was also this religious leader. Women, when they feel this really strong spiritual connection, were burned, right? And I think it just speaks to your work about wanting to empower women, and even your background in the Jehovah's Witness, and this idea that it really sets up men for success and not women. And I think that that's a pattern we see around these things. And I also wanted to ask, and I think all of this is kind of interrelated, but you mentioned Kundalini and connecting to this divine feminine kind of energy. I'm not super familiar with Kundalini or Kundalini yoga, but how has that informed your spiritual practice? And yeah, I suppose any thoughts you have about this kind of gendered dynamic that does exist within, trying to use this as an umbrella term, spirituality as a whole, you know, that structured religions tend to also proliferate patriarchy. Thoughts, reactions? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Kundalini yoga is something that is centuries old. It's a beautiful ancient practice from India. And it's interesting that it was brought over to the West by a man who has since been accused of using his position of authority to abuse women. Like a lot of these spiritual teachers right in the 60s,
Yeah.
the only one. Now, I'm not here to make a judgment call on that. There are some people that believe it and some people that don't. But the reason that I'm sharing it is that, once again, it's something that feels very sacred and feminine, and then the history around it is very entangled in the possibilities of the patriarchy and the
Right.
powers that certain men might have had and the abuse of that power. But the way that I look at it is that we can set that aside and take the emotion from it and just look at it the same as crystals, right? So, like, does it make you feel good? So for me, what I really love about Kundalini is I just love the ancient wisdom of it, and being able to connect to that lineage, like back, not some dude in the 60s, like way back.
Right.
And to be able to use breath and to be able to connect in with the different chakras within your body, and the breath work and the chanting. And I just love the whole vibe of it. It's something that, for me, I find it very difficult to meditate. I can't silently meditate, so I love Buddhist chanting. Every morning, myself and my partner chant, and I also love to do Kundalini. And for me, it's something that really helps me kind of relax and meditate. And it's a beautiful daily practice that I just want to do the whole of my life. But I really we could have had this conversation. I could never have mentioned that. But I think it's really important that we name it. Like, when things happen, and we need to understand, like, where that, the background behind it, but then be like, okay, is this something that I want to completely dismiss, or do I want to kind of extract what I need from it, and then to be able to create that as a daily practice?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the word you used, entangled, right? That these really beautiful practices, unfortunately, are so entangled with fear and violence and oppression and lack of freedom a lot of the time, and being able to untangle that for ourselves and reclaim the pieces that are freeing and empowering. In this important balance of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but also recognizing the bathwater, right? And saying, yeah, there is a history there. I completely agree with that, but still being able to say, this is something that connects me to my divine feminine, that connects me to this really sacred piece of human history, right? The humanness of all of us. Thank you for mentioning that. I do think that's really important. To be mindful of our time, I want to go into my last two questions that I always have to ask. One, is there anything we missed in light of our conversation, all of the things we talked about? Is there anything you would like to underline, clarify, highlight, or something we didn't touch on at all that you were like, we need to talk about this?
Nothing that I can think of, Reese. I think it's just really to reiterate the fact that it's so important for us, especially as women, to really understand ourselves, honor ourselves, value ourselves, stop hanging our hat on the validation of others, stop being affected by the opinion of others, and really standing in our truth. And when we really love ourselves and respect ourselves and know our values and know what our purpose is, we're not sidetracked by all the noise. There's a lot of noise in this world, and certain people trying to take us off track. Like, stay in your lane, do your thing, and everything's going to be good. So yeah. I wanted to really, really highlight that. Having that confidence to be able to stand in your truth is really important for us, especially now. It's really important for us as women to come together and gather in circle and connect with one another and help one another. Really, really important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for highlighting that and for your beautiful time and energy here today. It has been such a pleasure and a privilege to hear your story and chat more about these things. I feel like I've learned so much about you, but also about these different worlds. If anyone is interested in working with Abigail Rebecca, all of the links to do so, to get your free human design chart, you also have a beautiful blog where you talk in really wonderful detail about these things. It's another great place to start digging into human design. All of that will be linked in the show notes wherever you may be listening or watching. So please, please go check out Abigail Rebecca's work. And my last question for you to hopefully just put some sort of bow on this beautiful conversation is, what is one word to describe how you're feeling right now?
One word to describe is satisfied.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm just feeling really, really satisfied. It's been so lovely to connecting with you today, Reese. Thank you so much. And thank you for, what you're doing. Standing in your vision, your truth, standing for something is really, really important. And I just feel very honored to be invited on and to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you so much. I mean, the feeling is so mutual. I cannot thank you enough for your time and energy today. Thank you all so very much for being here today, and a huge thank you to Abigail Rebecca for her time, energy, vulnerability, and expertise during this episode. This was actually the first episode that I recorded for this season of Making Meaning, and it was really the episode that made me so excited for season 4, for the potential of this next round of conversations. And it was just such a joy to chat with Abby more, to hear more about her story and the way that she uses all of these impossibly difficult things to become someone that helps other people become the best version of themselves. That is just always the most inspiring thing to me, is when people take pain, trauma, difficult experiences, and use that to make meaning and help others make meaning. That's alchemy, right? That's pure magic. If you're interested in working with Abigail Rebecca to step into your iconic era or learn more about your human design, all of those links will be in the description wherever you are listening or watching. I highly recommend checking out Abigail's work, and she also has a lot of blog posts, YouTube videos, lots of free content to consume to learn more about human design in general as well, so I definitely highly recommend you checking all of that beautiful stuff out. If you're interested in working with me to find and pursue your purpose, a link to learn more about that will be down in the video description as well. And please follow, subscribe to the Cohere Collective, to Making Meaning, wherever you're listening or watching. That is the very best way to support the Cohere Collective, to support this work, and to allow me to continue creating this content and bringing you meaningful work that hopefully makes the world a more meaningful place and allows you to make meaning in your own life. A big thank you to Nicole Oesterreicher for making Meaning's art and podcast cover. You can find her on Instagram, links in the description. And a big thank you to Tristan Morgan for making Meaning's theme music. You can find him on Instagram as well. Links also in the description. Right now, I am feeling in flux. I almost wanted to say like change or like transformation or evolution, but those aren't good. Those don't fit in the sentence structure, but all of those things are very much how I'm feeling right now. I feel like this period of time post coming back home after Italy, which there will be more information about coming out describing all of that journey and all of the life changes that I have been going through for sure, and all of the things that I've learned and am still learning. But all of that to say, there really is just so much that I am learning right now about myself, about my relationships, about the life that I want to live, the life that I want to cultivate and create, the meaning that I want to continue making for myself. And that's what I feel like I'm in. I'm in the thick of it. I am in the thick of making meaning, which is hard work, but it is hard work worth doing. And there's nothing more satisfying than laying your head on a pillow at the end of the day and feeling tired, but in a good way, I worked hard today. I had a hard, long day's work of making meaning. That's a good day. It's a really good day. Thank you all so very much for being here, for being a part of my making journey, my making meaning journey, for letting me be a part of your making meaning journey. I feel like I say this all the time, but it's just so true. Your time and your attention is your most valuable non-renewable resource, and it is not lost on me the privilege that it is that I get to be a part of your time and energy. So thank you for spending that here with me and being a part of what making meaning is. Making meaning through making meaning with me and all of our wonderful guests. Thank you for being here. And as always, I hope you feel like you are living more coherently. Until next time, love.